Hey, welcome back to the 24 Down podcast. This is Vincent Buddha, aka Buddha, and this is episode 19. And we have a really awesome one for you. We have someone that was there at the beginning and then left after. He didn't leave, he pretty much graduated just about. And so he was my first RA, resident assistant, on 24 Down. And you're going to hear from him today, his point of view. It's going to be really awesome. And I'm just proud to say that we have him on the podcast today. Everyone just welcome Darell Eldridge. Hey, Darell, how you doing?
Great. How's it going, man? This is awesome. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome, man. So I'm really excited to have you on today, and we're going to start with you. We just want to give you we want to give you the floor to kind of give us an update on just you after Valley Forge. We'll get into you during Valley Forge in the question time and everything, and we'll even kind of explain what 24 Down became after that first year and what it was before as well, because you were there, 3 years prior to us. But yeah, so I'm going to give you the floor. Give us an update. Tell us who you are. There's a lot of people that don't know who you are because they came after you. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, man, I think it's interesting because I see Vincent and I see other people from Valley Forge on Facebook all the time. And it's almost like you know what's going on in their lives. Like, I know you have kids and like you have these great looking kids and like the curly hair. I love the kids and the curly hair, and you're doing the weight loss thing and you're a pastor. And it's like, oh man, I know these guys. And then I just come on with you today and I'm like, I haven't talked to you in 14 years. Like, that is for real. Like, that's crazy. So I apologize for that. But there's probably a lot of people at Valley Forge that haven't talked to each other in a long time. So I really appreciate this and connecting me in this. This is awesome. But yeah, so a little bit about me after Valley Forge. I had kind of trying to, first off, I was an elementary education major. And when I left Valley Forge, I really didn't know kind of what to do. I was there for one more semester after I was an RA. And I actually lived off campus with Dan DeRozier's, and I was doing my student teaching that semester, and I was barely on campus. And I was kind of like debating, like, what in the world do I do? Should I go back home? I grew up in Michigan. Or should I go stay here? Some people just stayed at Phoenixville for like years. I don't know what they did, but they just stayed there. So I was like, what should I do? What should I do? And I remember I went to chapel one day. I wasn't going to chapel much then because I was student teaching, but I went to chapel one day, and the guy was talking about it was a weird verse. It was in the Bible. He was talking about where Jesus helps a demon-possessed guy when he was in going out, and he helps this demon-possessed guy, and the guy was like, let me come with you, Jesus. And Jesus said, no, I want you to go home and tell your family what I've done for you. And I was like, oh, like that just hit me like really deep. And I was like, I need to go home. I need to go home and be with my family. And I got to go home right after Valley Forge. I really struggled to get a position as a teacher when I went back home, but I did have some great opportunities to really connect with my family. I helped my brother. He was like on drugs and living in his car for a while and stuff. And I helped him get into a Christian rehab center, and just God used me when I went home. But so the real story though is I ended up, I was friends with a girl from Valley Forge. Shelly Baker was her name. She was a twin. She was older than you. You may not even know her. She was my age, and we were friends like the entire time through Valley Forge. And even on the day of graduation, we were like together, and we never dated, but we had like a really good friendship. But that day we decided, it was funny because we decided we wanted to pursue something maybe like in the future. And then a week after we said that, I ended up meeting some other girl and dating some other girl. So it's really rude and stupid of me, but that's what happened. Anyway, a couple months later, we ended up getting together, and we only dated for about 2 months, which was crazy. And I lived in Michigan. She lived in Virginia. We ended up getting engaged, and she said, hey, man, I know you can't find a teaching position in Michigan. Just move out here. And so I packed my bags and I moved out to Virginia, and I got a job teaching in the elementary school. Like my first interview is crazy because in Michigan, no one could get a teaching position. Like they were like sending teachers away and letting them go. Like it was terrible. And I go to Virginia and they were hiring 800 teachers, and I work in Loudoun County. and they hired 800 teachers that year. I just couldn't believe it. And so I've actually been there for 14 years. This is my 14th year teaching. I taught 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade is where I am now. And so we got married. We ended up having a daughter about 2 years in. She's 11 now. Crazy. She's a cheerleader in middle school. God help me. And we have a son. He's 8, 3rd grade, and just great kids. Love him to death. So we got we both teach, and so we did youth ministry for a little bit. For about a year and a half, we did youth ministry in Virginia. And then after being in Virginia for about 4 years, we decided to, it was too expensive. I don't know if you know Loudoun County. It's like the most expensive, one of the most expensive places in the country to live. And so we decided we would move to West Virginia. So we live in the wonderful state, wonderful and wild state of West Virginia. And we live in the Panhandle. So I actually commute to Virginia. It's about an hour drive to go to work every day, but it's great. I make good money there as a teacher, and then drive an hour, and it's better to live out here. And so we've the cool thing about being teachers is we get the summers off. That's one of the blessings of being a school teacher. And so a few years ago, about 6 years ago, my wife decided, Shelly, she decided she was going to take a team to Costa Rica, a missions team. And so she took like 38 people or something. It was something ridiculous. And they went to Costa Rica for a week and did ministry. And she like made some great connections down there. And I stayed home with the kids and helped with them. She's definitely a strong leader in that sense, and administrator. And she was great at leading a team. And then we decided the year after that we were going to go together as a family. And so we went down to Costa Rica for 5 weeks, the whole family. And we had like 3 teams come out and do ministry with us. We were like almost like feeling like we were like the local people there and helping, and people were coming into us and we were doing ministry. And we've done that now for like 5 years. We had to take the year off last year because of the coronavirus, but kind of that's what we found, like our kind of our niche in ministry, which was kind of cool. And we're still trying to pursue that. In fact, if anyone wants to go to Costa Rica, you know, if you want to do ministry, let me know. So that's what we've been doing. We live in West Virginia. Because of the coronavirus right now, I'm teaching from home. I actually sit in front of this computer and teach for 6 hours a day, every day right now. So that's what's going on. You know, that's the medium version, because you said you didn't want the super long version. So, yeah.
Awesome, man. That's some really good stuff. Yeah, man, you're a teacher, and your wife is also teaching as well?
Yeah, she taught pre-K actually for about 6 years, and now she's teaching computers. So she's the computer teacher at her school, which is pretty cool.
That's cool. Same school or different school?
No. She teaches out here in West Virginia. And she actually teaches at my son's school, because we couldn't both be away, you know, in Virginia teaching when the kids are out here. So she teaches here. She's hoping when the kids get a little bit older and can stay home by themselves and stuff and get off the bus, then she's going to come out to Virginia, because you make more money in Virginia. Almost everyone that lives around here works in Virginia or Maryland and lives in West Virginia, where it's cheaper. So.
Cool. So how is like Michigan and West Virginia different? West Virginia from Michigan?
So different in what way? Like, what do you?
Like, I mean, you grew up in Michigan. Like, what are some differences?
Oh yeah. So Michigan is definitely Midwest. Like, Midwest kind of friendly. I don't know. We say words weird and people make fun of us. I add S's on the end of words. Like, I go to Walmart's and my father worked at Ford's Motor Company, and people are like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. And we call it pop. So that's weird. But West Virginia, I love West Virginia. Michigan is super flat. It's like the flattest place besides maybe like, I don't know, but West Virginia is beautiful. Hills, mountains. We just get made fun of, you know, we marry our cousins and stuff and weird stuff like that. But you got the one thing I love about West Virginia, any gathering you go to, it doesn't matter. They're going to bust out in West Virginia, like that country song. Like, everyone just sings it and belts it out at the top of their lungs. It's like the funniest thing, but everyone like loves being in West Virginia. So we've been here 11 years, I think now. So it's been, we're really West Virginians now, I guess.
That's cool. And I remember your wife from school. She did
Oh,
have
okay.
a twin sister. I remember, did she play soccer or was she the soccer coach or something?
So
Volleyball or
it
something?
was funny. She played soccer for 1 year, and her claim to fame is she scored 3 times on her own goal. So she was really
Oh,
bad at it. But at that time, the girls' soccer team I don't think was very good, and they were trying to get like whoever. I mean, you're a warm body, come play on the soccer team, and she played 1 year and was not good.
that's funny.
That wasn't her wheelhouse there, playing
Yeah, yeah.
soccer.
I definitely remember seeing her around. Is your wife? I don't know why I think this, but is she Irish?
No, she's a
No.
twin
Okay.
though. She's Italian. She's a twin. Her twin
Oh, okay.
sister graduated from Valley Forge too, Carrie Baker.
Yep.
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 So I don't. She may have even graduated the year before you came, so you may not even have ever met her. So.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, man. You were talking about girls like towards the end of your Valley Forge, experience. I remember there was a story with
Oh
you
gosh.
and Frank Honus. Frank was our life group leader, and the life group position became the ARA. I don't know if you know that, the assistant resident assistant. Really weird name.
Okay.
I heard that Mark Talesha was behind the whole thing to change it, but we stopped having a life group leader after that. But we did have a life group leader. He was the spiritual leader on the floor, pretty much. I think
Uh
that's what it was. With small groups, we would have small groups and prayer and stuff, and it was a cool thing. I actually missed that in my second, third, and fourth year.
huh.
I actually liked it.
Yeah.
But you guys had a story about a girl that you were fighting over, and then you guys didn't like each other. Then you guys became good friends. What was that story? You
A
remember that
girl
story?
we were fighting over? Really? I don't
That's
remember that.
I
Ah,
remember that coming up in like a devotion one time.
a
And then
girl we
pretty
were
much
fighting over.
the lesson of the story was, don't, bros before girls, I'll say, I guess. But you know what I mean? And pretty much you guys became like really good friends after that. But maybe it
Oh,
wasn't like
that's funny. I don't remember that. That's
yeah,
funny
yeah.
because I was busting on Frank tonight because I haven't talked to him in a while, and I was texting him tonight saying I was going on here, and he's like, I don't remember anything from that year, and I was telling him stories, and he's like, I don't remember that happening, and now here I am, I don't remember that. That's funny. A funny story though is my wife now, who was just my friend at the time at Valley Forge. When I was 24 down, there was a friend of hers that kind of knew, like we were friends and kind of liked each other a little bit. She bet her $5 that she wouldn't come and kiss me. And so one day she calls me on the phone and says, come out on 24 down and just stand on the steps. And I'm like, why, what's going on? She's like, just do it. And she comes over and she like gives me a kiss and then runs off.
Wow, that's
But
funny.
that is not the same thing. I don't think Frank had a thing for her, so I don't know what the story is.
Yeah.
And Frank must not remember it either because he doesn't remember anything about 24
And
downs.
like I was saying before, we may have to get Frank on so we can hear his
I
side of the story.
know, that's funny.
Yeah, man. And Frank is funny because I was sharing something like really like a secret to him one time, right? Because he was the spiritual guy of the floor, right?
Uh-huh.
And it was something about my girlfriend at the time and everything. And he was like, "Yo, man, you just gotta leave her. You just gotta leave her because
Just
you can't be living in sin." That's my bird. But you can't be living in sin and all this stuff, right? I'm like, and then after that, I kind of like never talked to him about anything like that because I'm like, "Yo, help me through this problem. Don't just tell me, to leave my girlfriend." And now the girlfriend that I had back then that he told me to leave is my wife today. So
Oh my gosh.
things worked out.
Frank,
Things worked out.
Frank,
Yeah.
if you would have took your advice, man, you'd like be living in a garbage can right now, like no wife, nothing, man. Oh man.
That's
Don't take
Valley
Frank.
Forge. Exactly. Valley Forge was very, very conservative when we were there.
Oh yes, yes.
Christianity. It has changed, I think, over the years. And right now, Don Meyer's not there.
Hmm.
And we have, I think, like a Korean president, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
Korean American president. And so, things have changed, and now you can wear shirts with a logo on it and stuff. Remember, we couldn't wear those, and
Yeah,
yeah,
and the crazy thing is when I was there, I know it was a little bit stricter even than for you, and I would hear stories about back in the day where you were not even allowed to leave campus in the same vehicle as a girl. Like if you did, you could be written up. Like, I mean, there it was way stricter back in the day, even before we came. Like we were allowed to have open dorm nights. I think was it once a month or once a week where girls could come in and like hang out like that never happened before that. And rated R movies, like you weren't allowed to watch rated R movies. I think that changed right after you guys came, and the whole Passion of the Christ came out, and that was like the big deal. Like no one can watch the Passion of the Christ because it's rated R.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man. And even we had a curfew. It wasn't just quiet hours. It was it was an 11 o'clock curfew or 1 o'clock.
I think it was 1. I'm not 100%. I feel like it was 1, but and it's funny because I was thinking back to my RA days, and I don't recall ever writing someone up for anything. Maybe I did, but I don't remember. I think people did break the rules, and I would just be like, "Hey, man, you need to shape up." But I don't recall. Because my wife says she got wrote up all the time, and I'm like, I don't think I ever wrote anyone up. Maybe I did. Maybe people were like, I hate Darell. He wrote me up for everything, but I don't recall that.
And this is my kind of remembrance, memory of you as the RA. You were a nice guy. However, you were a senior, so you were trying to graduate. So you had work to do. So you were doing your work and you were trying to graduate. I remember that. And so, even though you were the RA and you took care of things on the floor, you didn't like really nitpick at things. And like you said, like you would probably be, either hanging out or either sleeping by the time 1 a.m. came around. So
you guys, I honestly, you guys could have came in and gone, and 1, I probably wouldn't have known. So and I know we're going to talk about this, but that was probably one of the most stressful years I had at college because I was RA. I was in charge of 3D that year. I was like doing ministry and leaving on some weekends and like planning. And I was also working 20 to 30 hours a week at Bertolini's in King of Prussia and also doing schoolwork. Like in fact, I'll talk about it later, but I wasn't even allowed, technically I wasn't allowed to be an RA because you weren't supposed to be on a ministry team and be an RA. And they let me slip through, and it was very stressful. So I did a lot with the guys and hung out, but I feel like I wasn't there for a lot, and I actually got in trouble sometimes because I wasn't there and stuff. So but
I kind of remember that now. Like Mark would come by and be like, "Hey,
where's Darell?"
I don't know. We didn't see him all day and stuff. And I remember you going to Bertolini's. I remember, you being all dressed for that and stuff. But you know what? I'm going to go spiritual here, and I'm going to say, I think it was all for a reason. The reason being that you weren't there, and you were so busy, and that was good for us that we can have fun and we got to know each other so well. And it started pretty much like the 24 down legacy, like we like to talk about. And the crazy thing is Mark Talesha, either a year ago or a couple years ago, went back to 24, and he went inside and said, "Hey, I used to be the RD here." And he's like, "Oh yeah, did you know this guy and that guy?" They started naming some of us.
Oh, so wow. From like 10 years ago. Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. So yeah, man, you 5th grade, you teach 5th grade now. I actually
5th grade.
Yeah.
What's that?
I taught 5th grade. I was a teacher for about 4 years. My church had a school at the time, and I taught 5th grade. I wasn't like a certified teacher like you and everything, but I taught it. And 5th grade is kind of, that's when they're coming into their, pubescent days and everything.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So how are your 5th graders? How has 5th grade been? I know you said you taught 3rd and 4th as well.
Yeah. So as a teacher, man, I definitely would not want to teach the little ones like kindergarten. Like I just went to a new school this year, and this is my first year in 5th grade at this new school, and I was like, I don't, because of the distance learning, the principal's like, we may have to move people around. I was like, do not put me in like kindergarten or 1st grade because I may quit if that happens. Like I cannot handle that. And people always ask, like, because most of the male teachers are like middle or high school. In fact, there's only like 3 male teachers at my school. And then the last school I was at, we had like 50 teachers, and I was the only male teacher in the whole school. So it's not very common for men to be teaching elementary school, but I can't handle middle school either, like that age where they're transitioning into being high school kids and older, like that puberty stage, man. And the funny thing, I was thinking about being an remembering being an RA of 24 down that first year. That was like being in charge of middle schoolers for the most part. Listen, so maybe that's why I don't want to be a middle school teacher, because of you guys. You guys forced me to to stay in fifth, fourth, or third grade.
Exactly, man. And I don't take any offense to that. And like I told you in the beginning, you got to be honest, man. And
Yeah.
we actually take that as like just, something to be proud of, man, because we're like, even though we have our professional lives and we have our families, a lot of us have kids and stuff like you do. Like
Yep.
we still are a little immature here and there with us, with each other. And we have a group chat going, and it's pretty cool though.
It's all good, man. It was fun. I mean, I love that. Even though it was stressful, I love that year. It was fun. I have some fun memories from it. Even if Frank Honus doesn't remember, I still do. I
Well,
think maybe the stress actually forced like the memories to stick in my head better or something. But yeah.
maybe. But Frank, I remember one thing from Frank. Actually, I didn't bring it up. Remember Tim Sarajan?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Tim actually brought it up. He was on the podcast a couple days ago, last week. And so he brought up one time, or maybe two times, where we would have, these floor meetings, right? And then it was like you talked, and then you were like, okay, Frank has to say something. And he would be like, guys, when I go in the bathroom and I see your literal freaking crap in the toilets, I get so sick. You guys need to flush the toilets. He would go on and be like, and pee inside the toilet. And, this is pretty much a freshman dorm, We're
Oh yeah.
18,
Oh yeah.
we're pretty much still like teenagers. So it's our first time away from our parents.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's why, people are leaving dumps in there and
Oh
peeing.
yeah. The thing that drove me nuts is when I would go use the sink and people would shave and then there would just be the hair left over there. And I'm like, come on, really? You can't just swish it around and get the hair out, guys? Come on. But
Exactly.
yeah, that bathroom. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think there was just one. Was there more than one, or was there just the one bathroom at the end of the hall?
So there was three. So there was one close
to
you, and I kind of live close to you as well. That was the one we used. And then there was one in the middle of the hallway, and then one right after that. But that was like an old World War II like bathroom,
Oh, that's weird because I only remember the one bathroom. I don't remember the other ones. I think I only used that one bathroom, but.
Probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah, man. Yeah, Frank was funny sometimes, man, but I appreciated him. He was a funny guy. So you mentioned 3D, and so when you mentioned 3D, that also brings up Carlos. And there's going to be some questions that allude to Carlos because number one, because you weren't there a lot, and I don't want to make you feel bad about that. You weren't there a lot, so that was actually good because you would have been more stressed because we did a lot of crazy stuff.
You guys did a lot of things I don't know about, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. So, and not necessarily bad, but more like pranky stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So number one, you weren't there a lot, and so you didn't see a lot of what we did. But also, as the years went on, we just, we had Carlos for 2 years. Okay, and Carlos was more of a hands-on RA. He was more of an investigator. He would actually go down and sniff stuff and be like, "Oh, this smells like this, so it has to be this." Like it was just crazy. So yeah, so we did a lot of crazy stuff. We would actually, just because the way he was and how he always wanted to like find out stuff, we would do some really immature, crazy stuff where today we would say, "I'm sorry," but back then it was a lot of fun. We would bang on his door after, quiet hours. We would yell his name during quiet hours, even before quiet hours, because quiet hours was 11 p.m. At like 10:58, we would go and be like singing and clapping. It's not quiet hours.
Oh my gosh, he hated you guys so much.
Yeah, he hated us, but
he is definitely a serious guy. So he was I could just see him being so mad at you guys.
Yeah, and there was even a time where we got into like a ball tapping phase where we were hitting each other in our junk, right? And so we were doing that, and like he came to us and said, he kind of gave us like a biblical study on why we shouldn't do that. It was just hilarious, and it went on for about 5 or 10 minutes. So it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with you because we didn't, you weren't there, so we couldn't have the fun with you. But that would be a lot of stress. But Carlos was pretty much always there. He was always in his room, and so he was saying something.
Well, one very vivid memory I have of everyone on the dorm and you guys playing a prank on me was So I had a kind of a morning routine where I would go to chapel, and then right after chapel, I'd go to the YMCA and work out, and then I'd come back and shower. And like you guys knew, like that was my shower time. So Ronell, Tim sometimes, and a couple other guys, you guys would like hold it in, and then you would come into the bathroom and just all three of you would be sitting on the toilets pooping at the same time while I'm showering, and you guys would be singing to annoy me, and then you would just leave. I don't even think you'd flush. You just leave it there and stink up the entire bathroom. So it's funny because I told that story to my daughter and my wife tonight while we were eating dinner, and my wife was like, wait a second, did they not like you? Is that why they did that? I was like, I think they liked me. I think that was like a fun thing they did, but maybe not. So.
Yeah, like it wasn't because we didn't like you. It was just we were immature and we were just trying to get under your skin to see what you would do.
Oh, dude, it was all good.
Like, oh, come on, guys. I that's a memory that I forgot, and that's what I love about the podcast. These memories come up. I'm like, oh man, I can't believe we did that. And that's where the names. We used to have names for how many people went to the bathroom. So in that bathroom there were 4 stalls. So we had just a single that was really just called a dump, and then we had what did we call? We call a double deuce. That's when 2 people were going at the same time.
Oh, maybe it started then because you guys would like all 3 people would be going at the same time while I was trying to shower.
Yeah, and then
get ready.
Triple threat, and then like quadruple duple. So that's how we got those names, and I'm glad we found the origin of those names because we did it.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, funny. Because you guys were trying to mess with me. That's how you started.
Yeah. It's funny, man. Yeah, we're definitely. I'm glad we got in contact with you and you're on, but we're definitely trying to get in contact with Carlos, man.
Yeah, I'll try to get in contact with him. Him and I were super close. Like, I mean, we were on 3D together for 2 years. We traveled together. We're together all summer. I mean, we were like best friends. And then after college, we hung out a few times. We actually got together and went to King's Dominion one time, just the 2 of us. Like we'd get together. In fact, it's been maybe 5 years since I've really connected with him. So we just kind of lost touch, man. He kind of like fell off the face of the planet. Yeah. So hopefully you can get in contact with him. I'll try to get in contact with him. I would love to hear from him and to hear his stories about you guys messing with him for sure.
Yeah, like it's even come to that we have been investigating on like websites and trying to see where he is, and it's almost like stalking. So it's really scary.
I'm friends with him on Facebook, but I haven't seen him on there in like 2 years. So I'll try to get in contact with him, man.
Yeah, it's either that he's not active, or I went to go search for him a couple weeks ago, and he's not even there anymore.
On Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, might have dropped off of Facebook entirely.
Gosh, I hope he's okay.
I hope he's okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, man, before we get into the questions, and that was a great update, by the way. And, before we get into the questions, I want to ask this question, and I want you kind of to get into it a little bit. What was 24 like before you were RA, before like me and Tim and Ronell, like you said, came there? What was the culture there? What was it like? How was it looked upon? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think I already said that, like, I was super busy during that year. I had so many things going on, and I wanted to be an RA, and the reason I became an RA and got to be an RA is because Noah K. I don't know if you know Noah K. He was there before you guys, but he's just an incredible guy, and he was just had like such like great. He did such a great job in leadership. Like, I just wanted to learn from him so bad. So I like talked to him like, man, I just want to come and be with you and like learn from you. Like, I want to be an RA under you. And then that summer when I came back, he called me up and he said, I took a pastor position and I'm leaving. I was like, what? Oh my gosh. Like, I was going to work with you. And so that was the first thing that like was a bummer to me, becoming an RA. And then the other thing is, like, we had all these guys and girls that were going to be RAs. Like, we actually got together over the summer, and you have like this whole like retreat, like RA retreat at this campground. It was like so cool. And everyone talked about like where they wanted to be as an RA. And I so badly wanted to be at like 33, like, which was like for all the like married couples, and like, cause I was a little bit older, and most of my time at Valley Forge, I was in a dorm. Like I was in the 4 Annex for 2 years, which is like separate from everything, and you kind of get left alone. It's like your own apartment over there. And so I had been in those situations, and I was like, I just want like this easy job as an RA. And I don't remember why, but I got 24 down, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that is the freshman dorm. Like that's going to be the hardest dorm of all. Like, and I kind of knew people over there, but again, it was like every year it was like the freshmen went to 24. The year I was RA was the first year Bongiorno opened. And so everyone really wanted that. So I was kind of hoping for maybe Bongiorno, maybe 33. And then I found out 24 down. I was like, oh my gosh. So I connected with Frank Honus. And I was like, dude, I really need your help. We had been buddies for a couple years. I was like, I need your help, man. They have this position, like this life group position. I want you to come be my life group. You got to help me with these freshmen, man. Like, I don't know what it's going to be like. It's going to be stressful. And so he came with me, and that was the best, probably the biggest help for me was him coming along. In fact, I wasn't there as much, but he was there. I don't think he had a job that year. I think he was there. He was a senior too, but he was still there a lot. And so he kind of took over and helped out a lot when I wasn't able to be there. I was working or gone for a weekend. And so that was awesome. But I remember before you guys all showed up to 24 down that summer, we were there for a couple days, and him and I actually went around and we prayed in every single room. Like we went around and prayed. And I mean, we were super spiritual. Like we actually took oil and like anointed the rooms with oil and like prayed over them. And like we were getting ready for you guys. And I'll never forget like the first meeting with everyone when you guys it was like your first day there. We helped you all get in and get unpacked. You guys were all there. And it was like our first meeting that night. And we were just so pumped and so excited, and Frank was being like, we're gonna like love Jesus, guys. We're just gonna love Jesus together and grow. It's gonna be awesome. And I remember after the meeting, I don't remember his name, but a guy came up to me, and I think he left after the first semester, so he probably doesn't watch this, but he came up to me and he's like, hey man, is it okay if I go outside? I'm like, what? Like, yes, you can go outside. And so that was like the start of it. Like you guys, I mean, you were new, and you were just, I mean, like I joke that you were like babies, like coming from your first time ever coming away from your mom and dad, you know, like I'm your new mom and dad. Like people are knocking on my door. Hey, can I go outside? Am I allowed to go outside? Hey man, I'm going to go do laundry. Is that okay? Yes, go do your laundry. Like that's cool. But, it was definitely an adventure, and it was fun. I have great memories. It was definitely stressful, and I do have some fun memories I'll share in a little bit. But man, it was definitely a challenge because you guys were so young. There were so many, and I'm glad that it took off, and it sounds like some of you guys actually stayed there longer. So maybe that dorm being a freshman dorm kind of shifted where it wasn't just a freshman dorm anymore. So, the difference is like even sophomores, juniors, seniors, like that innocence and excitement, they kind of lose that. And they're kind of like want to be left alone, like 33 and even some of the other dorms, like those people like already doesn't need to talk to me. If he leaves me alone and doesn't say a word to me, like that'd be cool. So, very different.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember, I wanted to ask you before I go into what 24 Down became in that year, especially. I remember that, RAs would come together and they would have a theme for their floor. Do you remember? I don't remember. Do you remember the theme?
I have no idea. No.
Yeah, because I
Walk
remember
like Jesus. I don't know.
Yeah, there was like things on the floor, on the doors and everything.
I'm sure. Yeah. But
Yeah,
that's probably something that started like the beginning of the year, like it was a big deal, and then it probably wasn't a big deal later on. Like I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know if we did floor meetings right outside your. I think we did it right outside your room, but then we did like meetings in your room. I remember the big blue couch. If
yeah,
we all be on that and everything. I remember that for life group meetings and stuff. Life group was really like, it was important to me because
Mm-hmm.
I went to Valley Forge to become first a
Absolutely.
missionary and then a pastor. And so like the spiritual aspect was very big for me. So I was sad that life groups did go away after that year and ARAs came about and stuff. I wish we had that spiritual aspect on the floor because I feel like that was important. But yeah, man, I remember like definitely that's how it was. You were kind of like our parent. And that's funny how people came up to you and were asking you questions like that. It's hilarious.
Dude, can I go outside? I just couldn't believe it. Like, yeah, you can go outside, dude. Like, go for it. I mean, the
It's
grass is right there, and he just went outside and like stood in the grass for a little bit. Like, that's all he wanted to do.
That's hilarious, man. But yeah, pretty much, yes, 24 down of what we heard of was the freshman dorm, was some people like even Mark Telesha said it was called the jungle. I even heard it called the ghetto when I was first there.
Uh huh.
People would say, "Hey, where you live?" And I'll be like, "Oh, 24 down." And they'll be like, "Oh, sorry, man." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Sorry. It's awesome there."
Yeah.
I
Oh.
chose to start hanging out with the guys from the floor within the
Mm-hmm.
first 2 weeks of school.
Yeah.
And once we did that, it was just a lot of fun. We played games, we did pranks, we got to know each other, we did stuff together and everything. So that, it started there and then it grew into something even bigger. The next year, we got some athletes on our floor. And some of them were freshmen, some of them, but most of the guys that were together stayed on 24 for the second year. Then we started to win intramural championships. We were winning. We beat the basketball team in the intramural.
Get out. Really?
Yeah. We either beat or really came close to beating the there was a baseball club at the time. It wasn't the team
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
We in softball we came close or even we beat them. And then dodgeball tournaments became big. So we were athletic. It was kind of like we were cool. People thought we were prideful. We kind of became a Christian fraternity, and leaving out the alcohol and the drugs and the partying.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what we became, and so it just kept on building, and people just stayed there. So I stayed there for all 4 years. I was there.
Wow.
Tim stayed there. He was actually there for 5 years.
Uh huh.
He stayed there for all 5 years because he changed his major after a little while. But yeah, man, it was just, and everyone that came, we welcomed them with open arms because you know
Mm-hmm.
what? I think that really did start with you guys too. I would have to say, you and Frank just welcoming us as freshmen with open arms. So we kind of learned that from you, and that's what we did. And pretty much we loved anyone that would come. Didn't matter what color you were, what state you were from. It didn't really matter. We had like 3, 4, or 5 Koreans at one time. There was like this whole Korean influx that came, and black, white, Spanish, it didn't matter. And so, and it just keeps on going. And now there's kind of a revival now. We want to get together in person, but it's hard because of COVID. So, we do
And
Zoom
everyone
meetings.
lives so far apart. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah.
exactly. And the cool thing is, a lot of the 24 down members have gone to like weddings and stuff, and they do 24 down things like, a fraternity would do, at a wedding and stuff. So it really is a family. And I would have to say, man, it was because, you graduated, but, you helped start that. I'm just going to put that out there and say that. So
No,
thank
I
you.
mean, I know when that year it started right away. Like you guys just built a community. Like it was a community, and I'm sure it happens at a lot of dorms, but some don't. Some fight. I mean, they fight and bicker and don't want to be in the same dorm and leave. But it was great. I mean, you guys were all really, really awesome and just connected well. I mean, you guys played video games all the time, which I mean, I'll never forget Tim playing that Dance Dance Revolution game. Oh, he was insane how fast he could go in that. And I would just sit there and like watch him just mesmerized. Like, how can you do that with your feet that fast? But I
Yeah.
mean, it was things like that. You guys just built such a great community, and that wasn't just me. I mean, I wasn't there a lot. That was you guys, just your personalities, just connecting together. And that's awesome that you guys still have this connection years later. I have a friend who is 80 and he still has friends that he talks to from when he went to college like 50 years ago. So I
Wow.
mean, it'd be incredible that you guys in 40 years are still connecting. And he's a minister, and a lot of ministry that's happened for him has been because of his connections from college. Like he's been able to connect with people in different places and do ministry and missions and stuff because of people he went to college with. So it's awesome. It's really awesome to keep that going. So I'm
Yeah.
glad I get to be a little bit a part of it too. Thank you.
Yeah, man, definitely. And you mentioned DDR, you mentioned Tim. Tim was on last episode,
Yeah.
and so I want to show you a little something because we try to kind of, and we might even do it for you as well. We might even have like a RA shirt or first R, the best RA or something, right? But we make T-shirts, 24 down
Okay.
T-shirts every once in a while. So let me share my screen and show you this one that we made for Tim. And you mentioned DDR and everything, so let me show you real quick. All right, so let's go
Family
here.
matters.
Oh yeah, that's my sermon tomorrow for
Oh,
church.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. So this is it right here.
Oh yeah, that's
It's pretty cool.
cool. That's
Yeah,
a cool shirt, man. Did you
yeah, that's
make
our
that?
logo right there. Yeah, Josh Hatmaker, who's
Oh,
kind of like
okay,
the
nice.
leader and founder of the podcast. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, man. All right, yeah. So let's get into some questions, man. This has
Yeah,
already been really awesome, and I think people have gotten to know you by now when as they're listening. And I'm telling you, we get, I think our average, I don't know, is somewhere between 50 and 70, people listen and download. But there's even
cool.
more at times and everything.
Well,
We
my
get
daughter and son think I'm going to be famous for coming on here. So just
cool.
let's say that we're famous, okay? So when they listen to it, they know we're famous, okay?
Exactly, exactly. So you're not going to some of these names you'll recognize, some you won't. But there's even some girls that are part of 24 Down. Just they're 24 Down girls.
Okay.
They're cool girls that hung out with us and everything, wanted to be a part. There was even about 24 Down that we were half of a dorm pretty much because we had the RD on the other side and there was an apartment
Hmm.
and everything. So
Well, as an RA, I was actually in charge of that apartment too. I don't know if you
oh,
knew that. I don't know if that stayed the years after, but I was in charge of that apartment. And if I didn't pay attention to you guys, I went over there like twice the whole year. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, so, um, so yeah, we were half a dorm, and so I think that also played to the closeness that we had because we
Mhm.
were in a whole dorm. Now today we have a whole dorm. There's a
Wow.
whole dorm there. Yeah, there's not even a RD apartment there and everything. It's just a full dorm with lounges. Finally, we didn't even have lounges. We had
Nice.
hallways with couches, if you remember. But yeah, so we had people that wanted to live on 24 and wanted to be part of the family, and they were still part of the family, but they just never lived with us. So that was a cool thing that we had people that wanted to be there throughout the years, which is cool. And plus, we had girls. So the first one comes from one of our 24 Down girls, which is Colleen.
Okay.
And her first question is, what was the best and worst memory of 24 Down?
Okay. So that's cool because I wrote down a bunch of memories. This works because I already have some things written down. So one of my best memories was, and it was community. So every Christmas, the dorms would do like some kind, like I don't. Mostly the girls' dorms would do it, but they would have like a decorating contest. Do you remember that? And
Mhm.
so you would go and watch the girls. One year did like New York City, and it was like just like, I mean, you felt like you were really in New York City. They had like ice skating and all kinds of craziness. And then the guys, though, most of the guy dorms didn't really do it. And I remember approaching everyone at one of those meetings and being like, guys, we could do this if you want. Like, we don't have to. And I remember you guys were like, yeah, let's do it. And I remember you guys were like, let's do the Christmas Carol. And I don't even remember if I don't think we went really out that much for it. I think a few people dressed up. I think Tim like dressed up like Ebenezer Scrooge or something. But the one thing I remember, and I was just floored that Rennell was able to do this. He called uh, a um he called a funeral home and asked them if he could get a casket, and they literally drove the funeral home car over and let us borrow a casket. And they put the casket in my room, like we moved out the couch, and they put the casket in there. Do you remember that?
I didn't until now.
Oh,
That's
and I
amazing.
just
Yeah.
remember like I can't believe like we have a casket in my room. And I remember it was, and I was trying to remember, did someone get in it? Because in the Christmas Carol, like the death guy takes him to the graveyard, and he sees himself in the he sees his grave stone or whatever. So that was like that part of the book. And I just was floored that we were able to do that. Like we got that. And it was cool that we came together, and most of the guy dorms just didn't do anything. But I think that speaks to the community that we built, that people wanted to do stuff like that. They wanted to be together and hang out and work together. And that was cool. That was really, really cool. So I have a couple bad memories. A couple times, it would happen at night, like in the middle of the night, someone would come knock on my door, and just being woken up in the night was like the worst thing. And so every time I always approached that door like mad. And every time I felt terrible afterwards, because it was always something serious. It was never just someone at 3 a.m. knocking on your door to be like, hey, something, I can't get the laundry to work. Or, I mean, it was never anything like that. It was always something very serious. And I remember, I think it was, it might've been Franco. It might've been someone else, but I remember knocking on my door. I was like, dude, what in the world? Why are you waking me up? Dude, you need to come into my room right now. And I go in, and he has someone upstairs, a toilet had started flowing over, and he had a bubble coming out of his wall of water in the ceiling, just coming down. And we went upstairs, and sure enough, like the whole entire bathroom upstairs was just like a foot of water and just pouring down. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is serious. And then another time, and I won't use any names here, but there was someone who was like seriously was trying to harm themselves, like, and I had to go and like step in and help him with that. And that was not just the hardest, worst thing, that was like the scariest thing. And he ended up being okay, God, thank God. But that was definitely a hard situation in 24 Down.
To add on to that story, we won't say any names, obviously, but I remember that whole story. It was pretty late. I think I remember it was pretty late. I'm not sure though, but I remember that.
Yeah.
And actually, I was asked by you and Mark Talesha to bring him home.
Yeah.
And so I took my car, he took his car. I took a friend, Walter, if you remember Walter, the Korean guy that was there for like 1 semester. And so we went, and I remember they gave us money to stay at a hotel.
Oh,
and said,
wow.
guys, stay at a hotel. Here's money for food. Here's money for gas. I'm like, yes, this is amazing. This is a road trip. And so I'm talking about maybe like over 5, 6, 7 hour drive. And
so
we
wow.
went there. Okay. And then when we got there, the guy that we're talking about was like, oh, my mom said you guys can stay and sleep on the couch. And we were just such nice guys that we were like, okay. And we knew we had this money to stay at a hotel, but we knew what he has been through as well. Yeah. So we just slept on the floor with they didn't give us a pillow or anything. We just slept on the floor. But that was a crazy time. He's doing good today. He's
good.
He's planting a church, actually.
Oh, I did not know that. After that day, I never heard from him again. So that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's really good. Yeah. So those are some good things, man. So and then
I said I won't share names, but I actually had 2 people come into my room one time at night again. It was always late at night. And they were like ready to fight each other, and I had to calm them down. And they were both like ready to go outside and like fist fight over the dumbest thing in the entire world. And it wasn't a girl either. And I was just like, dude, this is crazy. And I don't know, maybe there was other fist fights on campus, but that was the only time I ever heard of it. I was like,
see, that's the thing.
Not fist fight, by the way.
Yeah, we did not get that physical like that, which was
no. People, I'm sure, got mad and stuff, but not like that. So.
Just like stupid drama type things and everything. Yeah, I would love to know who those guys are. But
It was you, Buddha. It was you.
I actually, do you remember Miles? Remember Miles?
I don't think so.
Oh man, what's his first name? I don't remember his first name, but he was a big like sports guy. He would play basketball, football, all that stuff.
Okay.
He was from 4 down or 4 up, but I kind of broke his ankle.
In a fist fight?
No, almost. Did you know Robbie Kirk?
Oh yeah.
Almost got in a fist fight with him.
Oh, he was like my age. I'm surprised you even were around.
Freshman. Okay. So we were playing basketball, and he said, for me to stop, like, posting up on him and everything and boxing him out and stuff. And I said, no, I can do whatever I want to you, man. I was just trash talking. And then I was a freshman. And then he pushed me, and he was about to punch me. And then the ref, stopped it. But the funny thing about it is, and I shared this on another podcast, is that somehow, some way, he is a pastor in Yonkers, my same city, the city I grew up in,
Oh,
right a mile up the street at
uh-huh.
the only other AG church. It's hilarious, man.
Oh, wow. So you
Yeah.
guys get connect and stuff, and
We tried to connect, but
okay.
then I saw that he kind of still had some of his same ways from when I met him at Valley Forge. So
Gotcha.
we're friendly, but we're not like
Yep,
close friends.
yep.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so she also asked, and this question, before I ask it, I want to just frame it. And I kind of told you about this before, that, some of the 24 down people, and even some other students, obviously, they either had a bad situation happen to them at Valley Forge, or maybe in church in general. And this is where that question comes from, but you can answer it, obviously, honestly. And she said, did you actually like attending Valley Forge?
Oh man. So okay, I'll speak to the good and the bad here. So when I first went to Valley Forge, just like you guys coming in so innocent, like I was so innocent too, and I was there because I just wanted more of Jesus, man. And I had this roommate who was only there for a year, so you wouldn't know him. And he was like just so in love with Jesus. He would pray and because of him, he like just got me so spiritual that year. Like I would go to chapels and just be like at the altar every time, and just, I mean, it was awesome. So those first few years, I loved Valley Forge. I just loved everything about it. And I still love it. I have dreams. Like I'm a very vivid dreamer at night, and I dream about being back at school. Like I love those 4 years of being at Valley Forge. Um, Being on the ministry team was another aspect of Valley Forge that maybe not everyone gets to experience, but traveling around in the summer and going to camps. I was in New Jersey one summer for camp, in New York. I was in up in Pennsylvania. We would go 3 weeks every summer in Pennsylvania at the Pendel camp, and up in northern New England and southern New England districts. Like I loved. I mean, those were the best times traveling around with Carlos and the team. And I just loved every part of it. Now, it was funny because the year I was an RA was like you get to see a little bit behind the scenes, and there were some things that went on, and I was just like, I can't. It just like blew my perspective away a bit about the way they would handle situations. I felt like they would kind of brush things under the rug a lot. Like I think they wanted to everyone on the outside to think like everyone that goes to Valley Forge is like the most spiritual kids. Nothing ever goes wrong. And it was funny because even as an RA and before a couple times, I would randomly be like in the lunch line and be like, I haven't seen so-and-so in a long time. What the heck happened to like Fred or whatever? Like, where is he? And then you like find out he just got like kicked out of college. Like he did something and he is gone, and no one, I mean, unless you were like his best friend, you didn't know that he is gone. And it was just like, what happened? And so just knowing as an RA, knowing some of those situations, I mean, even if there was an RA, I won't say who it was, but did something the year I was there, and he was removed and kicked out. And it was just like, why do they handle the situations like that? Like, I can't believe it. And so I could see definitely how some people can come away with a bitter taste from Valley Forge. But overall, my experience, I loved it. I loved being there. I have not gotten to take my kids there. In fact, I haven't been on campus probably in 10 or 11 years. I mean, it's been a while. And I would love to go back and have them go. Maybe, I don't know if I'd want them to go there for their college experience, but because it's so expensive. In fact, I am 14 years since I've been in 16, I think, years since I graduated. And I'm just now about to pay off my student loans. So, I mean, I am like $1,000 left on my student loans. So it is it's crazy. I could definitely see how people can come away with a bad taste in their mouth from Valley Forge. But I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I'm still paying mine off as well. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember you kind of bring the, maybe you remember this situation. You probably do, because I think at least one, maybe two came from 24 down, and most came from 24 up, I think. But I remember within the first maybe 3, 4 weeks of school, I remember, this is my freshman year, right? You're there and everything. And I'm thinking I'm going to this like Christian utopia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know
Which in
what a
some ways
Bible
it
college.
was. In some ways it was. I mean, I always felt like it was a Christian bubble in some ways, and you felt like you were in a
Yeah.
bubble there. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought I was going to that, right? And then within the first couple of weeks of school, I hear of like 7 people, some of them, most of them guys, some of them girls. They went out, they went clubbing, they got drunk, they stayed at a hotel in the same room and everything. And then most of them got kicked out for the semester.
It was all the homeschoolers, man.
Right? And yeah,
Their
it was
first
crazy.
time away from home, man. They had to sow their wild oats.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was crazy, man. Like that really that changed my whole view, not on Valley Forge, but just that I knew people weren't perfect. I know
Oh yeah.
Jesus is
Oh
the
yeah.
perfect one. However, you hold some people in very high esteem, like they're perfect. Like I was doing that with my pastor at home. I was doing that with other people, maybe on campus. And then it just burst that whole bubble, that whole thought that I had. And I was like, wow, nobody is perfect. And thank God. And I even thought of Dr. Meyer. I was like, even he's not perfect. Even,
Uh-huh.
you could put your best self forward, but you're still nothing compared to,
Yeah.
Jesus and what he did on the cross. So it gave me a healthier view of like Christianity and
Yeah.
salvation and everything. So it was good.
See, and for me, it took like 2 years. I was there for like 2 years before I realized, like, I remember I had a buddy who I worked with, and he was talking about how his first year he was like the big weed dealer on campus, and he would sell weed to everyone. Surprisingly, he's a pastor now. But
Wow.
I was just like, what? Like, what? That happened? You did that on our campus? Like, I can't believe this. Like,
Yeah.
everyone is the most Christian in the world here. Like, my bubble just burst too.
Yeah.
But it took a long time. You were right at the beginning. It took a
Yeah.
while before that happened for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was mostly a rule follower at Valley
Mhm.
Forge. I mean, maybe I saw a couple rated R movies here and
Oh,
there.
Vincent,
Um,
how could you?
but I never did anything like really, really against the rules. I was just into pranking and just sports and stuff. So it
Yeah,
really was. But I know some people that really went against the rules and were kind of never.
yeah,
Maybe they were found out, maybe they weren't, and stuff like that. But yeah.
yeah. And
So
even being on a ministry team, like there was people that got kicked off ministry teams because they went and had one drink somewhere. Like it was, I mean, there was some tough rules there for sure.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, so we have our next set of questions is from a guy named Carl Wolf, aka Wolfie. Does that ring any bells? He might
no,
have.
no. Carlo, if you remember Carlo Struzzulo.
Oh, I think I
Oh,
remember
I
him.
got a
Yeah,
funny story about. Do you remember him? He was
yeah, I
at
remember.
Valley Forge like in the 80s or 90s, and then he came back, was there for like 4 or 5 years. He may be back there now, I don't know. But I was watching the World Series back in like 2006 or 7, and he's from New York. And I remember some guy hit a home run on the game, and the camera went to the people by the ball, and Carlos Struzzulo was back there like trying to get the ball. I was like, what? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm seeing someone I know on TV.
Funny, man.
Anyway,
That's
go
what,
ahead, go ahead.
yeah. So Carl Wolf, he asks, have you ever been back to campus after graduating? And if so, what's different from when you were there?
So, like I said, I only came maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years after we left. And so my wife is and her sister are really good friends with the oh gosh, who was the the uh the basketball coach and the do you know who I'm talking about?
I think so. Yeah.
I just was thinking about them earlier today. Anyway, the basketball coach, he was the athletics director for like a really long time at campus. They're really good friends with him. We just hung out with them this summer. They live up in Pennsylvania. He's now the athletics coach in Lancaster at Lancaster
Is
Bible College.
is it Coach Mack?
Yeah, Coach Mac. That's it. The Max. Yeah. And so we went there to watch some basketball tournaments and stuff a few times. And then I was good friends with Dan DeRogers, who became a professor at Valley Forge and then became a missionary. I love Dan. He is just like the best guy. And now he's back in Phoenixville area. He's a pastor now there. Him and his family moved back and they're pastoring there. And not Phoenixville, but I think it's the church that they started. Do you remember that church they started there at this elementary school?
With McNaughton and stuff.
Yep, the McNaughtons, and like it was like the superhero church. I mean, they had like the best. Dick Gruber was the kids pastor, like, and then whoever was the youth person it was like the youth pastor, and like they had like the best the group ever to be like the pastors of that church. But I think he's back there now pastoring. I don't know if he's the head pastor, but he's pastoring over there, and he's just fantastic. So yeah, now I forgot what the question was.
Did it, was there anything different when you came back
from it wasn't too far removed from when I was there. I mean, some new buildings were there. I mean, it felt different, obviously, going there. I always feel like whenever I go back somewhere I haven't been there in a long time, everything seems smaller. And so it's like this campus seems smaller for some reason. But anyway, no, I don't think too many things were different. I'm sure if I went back there now, it would be like a different story. I think my wife and I went back for graduation a couple times but now we haven't been back in a really long time. So
yeah, definitely. After you left, I think a year or two after that, we got a new academic building, and it was really beautiful.
Okay.
It was really interesting. It was like right in between the faculty building and the library. And
yes, I've seen that building. I was there since that building was put up. Yep.
Yeah, pretty nice.
That's cool. And my family, actually, we know Kathy T, and we still do see her sometimes, Kathy T. I don't know if you remember. Cool. Everyone probably knows her. Dressing up as a blood drop for donating blood, and like exactly. She's just really cool. She's out in Buffalo now. She kind of retired, but she's still teaching a little bit at like a Christian school out there. So.
That's cool. Yeah, she's on Facebook. Every once in a while she pops up, and I see what she's doing. Yeah, it's cool. He then asks, what's your most important lesson you learned outside of the classroom at Valley Forge?
So I was thinking about this actually earlier about being an RA, and that was such a stressful time for me. I know Mark, everyone kind of knows Mark, but Mark and I kind of butt heads that year. I was an RA, and that was because mainly it was because I was so busy, and he kind of knew I shouldn't have been an RA because I was on a ministry team. So he was kind of hard on me all the time. Like he would just show up like, where's Darell at? Why isn't he here? And he would just, in fact, there was at one point he tried to get me removed from my position as an RA because he felt like I just wasn't serious about it and stuff. And so that year really, and I ended up being able to stay. We worked through it, and him and I actually have connected in the last few years, and I love Mark. I didn't like him so much before, but him and his family, we've connected. He's up in Hershey now. And a couple of years ago, he actually asked my wife and I if we wanted to come and teach with him at the school that he teaches at. Like, I love him. Hopefully we'll see him again soon. But we kind of butt heads, and I was so stressed that year. But through it all, and really God's helped me keep calm, and through all that stress, like, helped me learn how to have peace and be calm and kind of approach things with a level head instead of just freaking out. And I think that lesson I learned that year for sure. And it's helped me as a teacher because I've been in situations where I've had some students that I just wanted to like kill. And I swear there's been times where I've just turned around from talking to some kid or talking to some of my class and like, okay, I need to breathe and I need to calm down so I don't get myself fired, and like been able to do that. And also in ministry as a youth pastor, there was a time where I really wanted to punch a kid in the face. So he was being so disrespectful. He was at a fine arts thing and he was being so disrespectful. And I really wanted to punch him in the face in the parking lot, and I didn't. And like, I learned through that time just how to hold back and not be crazy and like be at peace and handle things with a level head. That's definitely a lesson I learned. during my time with you crazy kids at Valley.
Yeah, man. You were just trying to teach him the ministry of laying on of hands, man. You know,
Yeah. The funny thing is, that kid ended up. My wife and I let him live with us after he was like in his 20s. A few years later, and he was going through a hard time. We let him live with us, and we were so close to him, and he helped. He helped with the kids and stuff. Like he was such a great kid, but I wanted to punch him in the face that day.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I remember you being very stressed. I always remember you being stressed, and I remember just Mark coming in all the time, be like, "Where's your RA? Where's your RA? Where's Darell?"
He was so hard on me that year, man.
Bro. Yeah. He also says, and you kind of alluded to this before, so if you don't have an answer to this, that's fine. What's the craziest thing that happened from your time on 24 down?
So yeah, I think crazy probably that experience with the kid that wanted to hurt himself. Like I just couldn't believe that was going on. You always hear like about those situations and you're like that I'll never be in that situation. I couldn't believe that. And I didn't even have to do much in that situation. There was some other people there, and the one that actually helped the most was the security guard. I don't even remember his name, but he came in and he like talked to the kid and kind of just like jumped in there and started helping, and then we were there with him. And but that was probably like the craziest thing. But I mean, I had some other crazy things happen on campus before, but I remember when my first year, me and my roommate were throwing snowballs and stuff, and we were throwing snowballs at the windows, and we broke a window. What the heck? I can't believe we broke this window, and like freaking out. But I mean, I was pretty much trying to be on the straight and narrow most of the time too, like you. So I didn't do too many crazy things. I didn't pull any like crazy pranks or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. His last one is, have you ever mistaken your wife's twin for your wife?
oh no, okay. So no, ever since they are identical twins, and so no, I haven't. Technically, the only time I remember where I kind of didn't is so we're close. Even though they're twins and they're sisters, they're like best friends. They go to Target like 4 times a week together. They both teach right next to each other, and like they're together all the time. And so one time, my wife and we went out to eat with her husband and stuff, and I wasn't paying attention, and I went to sit down, and he was like, "Hey, are you gonna let me sit by my wife or what?" And I was like, "Oh crap!" Like that's the only time I've never like went to kiss her or something and like didn't realize it was her. Or and I honestly never. People always say they can't tell them apart, but I've never had an issue telling them apart. Even when we were in college, I always knew the difference. And funny thing about the first time I ever met her, because she came to Carrie, her twin, was at college the year before me, and then Shelly came the semester after I started. She was there, and so Carrie was in charge of the student council that year. And so every year at the beginning of the school year, they always have like this big gathering, like welcome back to school, and they had a stage, I think, and they were playing games, like stupid like youth group games and stuff, and like having fun, and like maybe a band, I think like Numa or Chosen would play, and like just it was like a fun night before school started. And I remember, because Carrie was the in charge of the student council, she had Shelly come up and be an MC that night, and it was her first time ever being on campus, and she's the MC. And my first thought ever of her was, who does she think she is? Like, she's brand new here and she's the MC for the night. Like, who does she think she is? But that was the first time I ever met her or saw her, was that night. And then the second time was, and she would kill me for saying this, so maybe she won't listen to it, but she had a boyfriend when she first came, and she was like next to a tree, like making out with him. And that was my second time seeing her. So we started off real good. Maybe that's why I dated someone right after we said we wanted to start something.
Exactly.
I was getting back at her. Maybe I was being a jerk.
That's funny, man. Yeah. So the next set of questions come from Tim Sarajan. You know Tim.
Oh, Tim.
Yeah. So
He's another guy I haven't talked to since Valley Forge, but I see him on Facebook all the time. So I feel like I know him. I feel like I know everything what's going on in his life, but I honestly haven't talked to him ever. So.
And that's why this podcast is so cool, because you can go back and listen to his episode, and it's like, you know, catching up with him. So that's really cool. So he says, as an RA for 24 down, who did you get the most upset at on our floor, and what was the reason for getting upset at them?
Oh, geez, the most upset. So I don't know. I think it was just a bunch. So I'm kind of a neat freak a little bit. And so I would have to do these dorm checks, you know, like go around to the dorms and check. And I was always so annoyed when I had to do them. One, I hated doing it. I thought it was stupid. I thought you guys should be able to like live on and do your own thing. But then I would go into the rooms and I'd be like, oh my, how do you people live like this? Like, I mean, the bathroom was one thing because it was so many people used it, but in your bedroom, and I remember I would go into dorms to check, and because I think you were supposed to do like just randomly do the dorm checks, but I would typically give you guys like maybe I'd say tomorrow, or maybe even just give you a couple hours, and then people would rush to go clean up their rooms. And so I would go in there and people would like shove stuff in their closet or under their bed. And I would just be I'd be like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, clean up your mess. And so I even now as a parent, I have to deal with my kids being like that. So like, clean up your mess, man. What is wrong with you? So that was annoying. And I don't think that was anyone specific, but I was really annoyed with that. In fact, the only person I was probably most upset at that year was Mark, because him and I were butting heads and fighting all the time. So that was like my main thing, was like having trouble with him. But like I said, we've gotten better. We've done a lot together, and he's a great guy. But I didn't like him right at that time.
I definitely remember those. I definitely remember either they were supposed to be random, but then you would be like, hey guys, tomorrow is going to be room check. Just make sure your room's clean. And so you would give us a heads up.
People still wouldn't do it.
I know, right? And then you would come and you had like a sheet for each person.
Yeah.
Fill it out and stuff. It was so funny, man. Yeah. And then his last question here is, were there ever any rules you disagreed with, even as RA? For example, curfew at 1 a.m., no R-rated movies, open dorm policy, things like that.
So yeah, that was one thing. I mean, there was a lot of people that were like super against the rules, and in some ways, I'm kind of old-fashioned, so I was kind of like, why? Sometimes I was like, oh, there should be more rules. Like, maybe we should go back to where girls shouldn't be driving in cars with boys. And I mean, that's just like the old-fashioned me. But I think the R-rated movie thing was ridiculous. I mean, now as an adult, I mean, I watch R-rated movies, and and there were some things that, I mean, I feel like they should let you make decisions on your own, like, and tell you, hey, this as a Christian, and as you, I mean, you shouldn't be out drinking and partying. Like, come on, don't do that while you're here. But we're not going to kick you out of school if you go out and drink something. Like, come on. Like, my wife, for instance, was at a family event in the summer and had a drink with her family. And then she was supposed to go on a missions trip with the school, and then someone turned her in, and she wasn't allowed to go on the missions trip because she had to drink with her family in the summer. Like, I was just like, come on, that's just being a little too legalistic, I feel. But I mean, like I said, I was a little bit old fashioned, but I think it was a little too much at times. But I feel like as a RA, and like I said, I don't recall, I don't know if I told you this or while we were on the podcast or before, but I don't recall ever writing people up. Like, maybe I did, and maybe I was really bad about it, but I don't remember writing people up, because I figure I just give you kind of the benefit of the doubt. Like, hey man, you're going to do what you need to do. Like, you're almost an adult. Like, you need to have some freedom and like make choices on your own. But I think it was a little too strict at times, for sure.
Yeah. And I don't remember you writing this up too much. You know, I don't even remember Frank writing this up too much. He was just, what was good about you guys was you guys would talk to us, you know, especially Frank. He would talk to us and tell us why it was wrong and stuff. And then Mark Talesha was the same way. He would talk to us. And, you know, I think a lot of the 24 downers have the same, you know, mindset that you have, you know, even more to the other side of, you know, being more lenient and stuff. But definitely because, 24 down has a lot of rule breakers, as the years went on, but, we were just doing it for fun and stuff like that as well. So Josh Hatmaker, that's actually his real name. Josh Hatmaker came 2 years after I started, so you wouldn't know him, but he really is. He says that I'm the godfather of 24 down, or the OG of 24 down. That's kind of when it started, when I came in. And he just remembers me welcoming him and everyone in his year 2 years later. But he has continued to just have everyone stay connected. And he's the creator of this podcast as well. So he has some questions for you.
Okay.
And he says, what was your thought of the incoming freshman your last year? And you kind of told us a little bit about it, but he even names us Buddha, Tim, Pete, Neil. Remember Neil? He was
Oh
dying.
yeah, Neil and Pete. Yep,
Yeah.
I remember them. I still see them on Facebook and stuff. So but again, I don't talk to any of those guys. I mean, it's sad. I talked to Frank and Carlos, and well, not even Carlos anymore, but yeah. So you guys, I mean, like I said, you guys were young. I mean, I talked to you before. I would love to have seen you like your senior years. Like, how were you guys? Like, oh, you're like all strict, and how serious you guys were. But you guys came in just so goofy. And sometimes it's funny, even with you, like seeing you as a pastor, and I've listened to like some of your Sunday morning stuff, especially with this COVID and being online and stuff. I'm like, that's Buddha? Like what? Like that goofball from college? I see Franco, and he's like writing a book and being like so like spiritual, and I love it. But I'm just like, that's Franco? Like Franco is so goofy like in college. Like I can't believe you guys how you turned out. Like how is that possible? But by the grace of God, I guess. But I mean, you guys came in. I mean, you guys were so excited. I mean, and it was you guys. I mean, you guys were cool. I loved it, but you guys just seemed so young, like little babies to me when you came in. I was a senior and trying to just make my way, scratch my way, crawl my way through that year. So, yeah. But you guys were great, and even though you picked on me with the pooping in the bathroom, that's a fun memory. It's not like something I was upset about.
Yeah. Did we ever take your clothes? Because we used to do that a lot to other people.
Thanks. So
we had, so that means we had respect for you. So
thank you. So whoever you took their clothes, you didn't have respect for.
Exactly. But yeah, going to like our senior year, and obviously you've seen that. Obviously, we've all grown up and gotten more mature, but definitely very immature. Pretty much still teenagers at the time. And so in my senior year, I was trying to graduate, man, because my girlfriend told me we are not getting married unless we both graduate, college. So I said, okay, I got to graduate because I want to get married. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was waiting for marriage as well, if you know what I mean. And so pretty much that was the plan. So I was at the library every day. I also, the last 2 years of college, I was working at the church that I'm pastoring today, which is my home church. I was the children's pastor and the youth pastor. And so I was coming home on the weekends and doing ministry, which was really cool. So, I mean, I believe I matured, and now today, I mean, they let me lead a church. So I guess I'm a little mature now. So, but yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. He has another one, and this kind of lets you know what we did to our other RAs. So just be happy that you weren't around and you were a little more lenient and stuff like that. So he says, how would you have reacted to the following? And he's going to list some stuff here that we used to do to Carlos that would just get on.
You guys have to get him on here, man.
Yeah, man, we do. So how would you have reacted to the following? People yelling your name late at night. People pounding on your door and running, someone intentionally pooping on the bathroom floor in the middle, airsoft battles in the hallway, countless holes in the walls, an actual wrestling federation starting in 24 down.
Wow.
You don't have to answer this. That is just to let you know some of the things that we did after that first year.
Whew, yeah, you guys must not have known each other well enough that first year to do crazy stuff. I mean, you did some stuff. I feel like there may have been a few holes in the wall. There may have been some yelling at times, but so for me, like I talked about how grumpy I was when people knocked on my door at night. Like I'm not a night person at all. Like 11 o'clock, like now I'm getting pretty tired right now. I normally go to bed like 10 o'clock is like me. I'm in bed. And even back in college, like people, you guys would want to stay up all night and stuff. Like I would never ever stay up all night. So if you guys would have done, I probably would have flipped my lid a little bit. I don't
Yeah.
remember ever going off. So, I mean, maybe I did, but I don't recall it. So
Yeah.
I may have gone off though if you guys would have done some of that stuff.
Oh, definitely. It's just we loved his reactions and stuff, and we would actually just at any time of the day, at any time of the night, yell Carlos
Oh
just
my
really
God.
loud. And you got to listen to some of the other episodes to see what we kind of did to him. But we would love to have him on to first apologize, but then to talk about all of
Don't
this.
apologize. Don't apologize. Maybe
He
that's
goes,
why he's not contacting me back. He's still so
yeah,
mad.
right. His last question is, and are you glad you missed all of that, all the things that I listed? Are you glad you missed all of that?
Sure, because I have good memories right now. I mean, there was some tough stuff, but I mean, I maybe would not have liked it, especially as stressed as I was that year.
Yeah,
And seeing that my lesson I learned was how to, in all that stress, to not lose it. So seeing that if you would have done that to me, I probably would have lost it. I might have not learned the lesson. So
yeah, exactly. So we have one more set of questions, and this is
yeah, man.
actually so you were my RA, you were the RA for that first year that I was there. Then we had Carlos for 2 years. My last year we had an RA by the name of Andrew Kindler. So Andrew he was one of our RAs, so he's kind of kin with you with being RA. So Andrew says, how would you rate Valley Forge with setting you up for a useful degree?
Really? No. um. Wow. Okay. So, as I don't, if you're a youth pastor or a pastor or a missionary or a kid like kids pastor, I think I can't speak 100%, but I think they probably did. The one thing I think they lack though for those ministries is I saw a lot of kids come out of Valley Forge, go into ministry and like get church hurt like right away, and it really broke them. I mean, I have friends who were youth pastors for a year or two and now they don't even go to church anymore, and there's so many stories of that, and I think they didn't prepare them for that. They prepared them for a lot of great ministry and stuff, but I think that's one thing where it lacked. As an elementary education major, which there was a lot of elementary education majors, I don't know if they prepared me for the classroom like they probably should have, and maybe they got better at it later on. It was still kind of a newer major. They were kind of breaking off and trying to do like secular type um, majors there for a while, and I think they still do business and all kinds of different stuff now. But it was kind of early on with elementary education. I loved the professors I had, and they had all done stuff in the classroom. But I remember going into my student teaching, and I got up in front of the classroom the first time, and I was like, this is the very first time I've ever gotten up in front of a classroom of kids. Like, I couldn't believe that I'd gone 4 years and had not done that yet. And
Mhm.
I was just like, what if I don't want to do this? Like, I may have just wasted 4 years of my life, like trying to do elementary education. Um, so thankfully I found like that was kind of what I was good at and what I loved, and teaching kids was great. And I kind of learned on the job kind of thing when I went into the classroom and got my first position and stuff and did subbing. But unfortunately, I don't think they did the best job for elementary education, at least. And I can't speak now. I have some friends who have gone through the elementary education more recently, and they're great teachers and they loved it. But me kind of being early on, it was tough. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think for in a lot of ways they do prepare kids. I mean, that was the motto, uh, for a life,
Urchin.
yeah,
Yeah.
life of leadership in the church and world and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, for the most part, I think they prepared me well for because I was world missions and then I changed over children's ministry, and
Ah.
so I didn't think I would be doing what I'm doing today. I
Mhm.
didn't want to be the main guy at the top in the church. But God had that for me, and I'm glad I'm doing it today, and I feel like I'm living my purpose. But I was learning from Gruber, one of the best,
Yeah.
and so I was
Well, I
learning.
went on a missions trip with him, dude. It was like the funnest week ever. Trinidad and Tobago. We went there for a week. Oh, it was great.
I heard about that one. Yeah. And then like soon after that, he had a heart attack and, he wasn't the same after his heart attack. Less energy, sitting down, all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
But he was good. And I was learning, and it was mostly hands-on with him. There was some theory, obviously, but it was hands-on, and I would be able to put that right into what I was doing on Sunday in kids' church at my church. So I was very happy with that. That really stuck. When I became a youth pastor, I had no training in that. I was just doing what I thought would work. It was just like trial and error over and over again. And then as, lead pastor, I had to read tons of books. I'm talking about 20 to 40 books that I read on leadership and pastoring a church. And still, that just like scrapes the surface, you know what I mean? But I think they prepare me pretty well. You can't prepare anyone 100%, you know, but I understand where you're coming from, and that's
Yeah.
where the question comes from, because some people believe that they paid so much money, like we talked about before,
Yep.
and they're still paying it off for what, you know what I mean? But I had a great experience
Yeah,
there.
and what I gained that wasn't from like I did do. You still had to do 10 courses in Bible, and I had a leadership course and stuff to prepare me for to be an RA. Like there was some very valuable stuff, and the friendships and the time I spent there, and being on 3D and doing ministry and learning ministry, like that. Those things absolutely prepared me for life, and and thankfully, I've experienced some church hurt too, but thankfully I was prepared and was able to still be serving Jesus, man.
Yeah.
14 years later, thankfully. So
So yeah, that's awesome. I have a question before his last question,
yeah,
and that is, can you just name off maybe like your three favorite movies, maybe of all time? I just want to know what your three favorite
you were
movies are,
just
because
being so
next,
spiritual a second ago,
I
man.
know, right? Because they could be rated R. I just want to
Okay,
know because the next
Passion of the
question.
Christ, man. It's written.
The next question is about a movie, but go ahead.
Okay, so all time Forrest Gump was one of my favorite movies, man. Love Forrest Gump. More recently, The Avengers Infinity War. Love it. I love all things Marvel. And then probably the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings stuff. I love that stuff. So that's kind of I've read a lot of those books and stuff. Like I'm really into that. So those movies were fantastic. So that's kind of where I am.
Cool. So I want to see if you've seen this one, because this one came out when you were probably out of college. Yeah, you were out of college at the time. This is Sparta. Does that ring any bells?
Is that no? I'm thinking of 300.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that it or no?
Have you seen that? Do you like that movie?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's a cool movie. That's one of my all-time favorites. But
Cool.
so let me tell you about this story. And so pretty much, I think this was my third year. And like I said, I'm kind of a rule follower, even though I broke some along the way. But so about 30 of us, 30, 24 downers. That's talking about the girls and the outside people that wanted to be 24. They all planned to go to see 300, and it was like maybe the first night or the first
Was it
week that
rated
it
R? I forget.
rated R. Yep, rated R. And they were
And you
going to
guys all
see,
got kicked out of college now.
right? So they were going to see in the theater. And so there was a buzz around the college because, I don't want to be prideful or boast about it, but we became very popular and people knew about us. People didn't like us because of that. And we would go everywhere together. We always had each other's backs and all that stuff, which is a nice thing. But when people are looking at it from the outside, they don't like it. But so there were some people that, wanted to kind of take us down, I guess. So, they heard about the 300 thing. And so about, 20 to 30 of us went to there. I stayed home. Tim stayed at 24. Pete stayed as well. He was very spiritual and everything. And a couple of the other guys stayed. And then what happened was there were two girls that went to the theater, and they were actually part of 24. They were two girls that were part of 24 pretty much. And they went and they were writing down all the names.
Oh
They were
my
writing
gosh.
down, yeah, they wrote it down, and then they left. And then the next day they gave the names in, and, everyone, pretty much got called in and got in trouble. And, but everyone got like a $5 fine. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah. It was just for rated R. It was just like a $5 or $10 fine or something. Yeah. It
And what I
wasn't
like
like
is
you had to
that,
turn yourself in. It was like, I feel so bad. I watched this rated R movie. Oh, here's a $10 fine. Like,
yeah,
wow.
exactly. So, everyone pretty much told the truth that they went because you
Yeah.
can't get into that, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, so that was a big thing. And then it was awesome when they came back. They were just doing all this stuff from the movie and everything, like acting like Spartans. And like, we felt left out and stuff. So me and Tim, we actually 2 weeks later, I took him back to Yonkers because we're only like 2.5 hours away from the school. And we went to go see it in the theater because we felt left out. But so the question
And
is,
then
with
you
all
turned
that being
yourself
said,
in.
yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, the question is, would you have went and saw 300 if you were the RA at the time?
Probably not. So it was a big deal when The Passion of the Christ came out, and a lot of people were like, "We shouldn't go because it's rated R." And I remember they made an exception for that, and like it was a big deal. Like I was dating someone at the time, and I went with her and her family, and like we went and watched it. And I remember I was pretty like I did not go and watch rated R movies during the time. I will admit, though, since it's way out of being at college, I did go to a wedding one time and had some wine at the wedding, and I
Like,
felt terrible. But no one from Valley Forge was there, so I was like, no one's gonna turn me in. But and I would have been kicked off the ministry team if they would have found out about that too. Just one time drinking at a wedding, a glass of wine. So
you should have just said WWJD. What would
yeah, what would
Jesus do?
Jesus do? He turned water into wine, man. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny, bro. And that's why, like, I like the AG, but I don't like the AG. And I'm in an AG church, and
Yeah.
I don't care if this gets out. Like, there's obviously, I don't think is there anyone that like believes 100% all the 16 fundamental truths? Maybe, but we should have a problem with some of them at least, just
Mhm.
because we are man and we are imperfect, and we created this list. It wasn't God that gave
Mhm.
it to someone. I know it comes from the Bible, but even with, drinking and stuff, like that's a big thing why a lot of people aren't like with the AG anymore. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? It's sad.
The
It's sad.
crazy thing is, I've been to Europe quite a few times, and it's just so much more laid back. I mean, I've been on a missions trip in Europe, and like 14-year-olds are drinking beers, and I'm just like, what in the world? Like and they're Christians, they're drinking with their parents, and I'm like, what is going on here? This wouldn't happen in back home.
It's true. It's true.
It's
So
just
yeah,
it's a Christian cultural American thing for sure.
yeah, it is. Yeah. And Andrew asked that because he was actually the RA at the time, and he knew they were going, but he didn't go. So he stood
Okay.
his ground. He didn't go, but he also didn't like rat them out. But if
Uh-huh.
they did ask him,
And
he would.
I don't think I would have ratted you guys out about that. I mean, like I said, I was a little bit more laid back. Like I never wait. Some people would wait at the door at 1 o'clock or whenever curfew was and like write people up for being late. Like I never did anything like that. So
Yeah.
I would have been fine with you guys doing that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, the other 24 downers that didn't know you, I think by now, they love you. They heard your story. They hear
Sure.
who you are and who you would have been, if you were there, RA. And, that's pretty much the group. That's how we are as well, just like you're talking about and everything. So I'm gonna do some podcast plugs. And then if there's any other memories that you wanted to, add, actually you can add them now. Do you have any memories to add now before I do those plugs?
I have a funny memory it's not from 24 down. It's just me being stupid at Valley Forge. So it was my first year, and me and my roommate, we were walking back to our dorm, and for whatever reason, him and I were like inseparable, and like we didn't hang out with anyone. We didn't work at the time. We were just together like day and night. And we were looking at each other, and we're like walking back to our dorm. We were four down annex at the time. We're walking right on the sidewalk there where the mailroom used to be, and we were saying, literally, it was like a Dumb and Dumber move. We were like, man, I wish we could meet some girls. Like, we need to like hang out with some girls. Like, all we do is hang out with each other, man. We need to hang out with some girls. And literally, as we're saying that, these two girls, I forget what the dorm was, 5 or something, Sheridan or something. They came over. Two girls pop out of the door, and they're like, hey guys, you want to come over and hang out? We're playing cards. You want to come hang out with us? And we look at each other, and we're like, I was like, oh, I have a phone call with my sister. I need to go call my sister. And he's like, I really need to study for this test. And we looked at each other and we're saying this. And then we look at the girls, we're like, you know, we're really busy right now. We really can't. And then we walk into 4 down. And then all of a sudden we just like look at each other like, what in the world? We just asked, these girls just asked us to hang out and we said no. What is wrong with us? But it was like a Dumb and Dumber moment. It was like, what is wrong? So stupid.
That's really funny, man. That's cool, bro. Yeah, so I'm gonna do these plugs, and then just so
Thank
people
you
know.
so much for allowing me to do this, and I'm gonna be watching and hearing from other people and seeing what's going on. And I definitely want to connect more with people, man. I feel so bad; it's been so long, and really, there's some rich connections there that people can make. And I mean, like my friend who's been around for so long still talks to people 50 years later who he went to college with and does ministry with them, man. That's what this could be about, you know, staying connected, doing ministry with people. So I just want to encourage everyone, stay connected, man. Stay connected.
That's cool, man. Yeah, and I was gonna give you a chance to say the last words. If those were your last
I'll do
words,
it again in a minute then.
all right, no, that's cool. Yeah, so yeah, definitely, because you know, after the plugs, I'll say a little something, and then I'll let you end the podcast. So here are our podcast plugs that we usually put out. You can find us on Twitter at 24 Down Podcast. You can also find us on email. Our email is 24downpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at 24 Down or 24 Down Podcast, on YouTube as well at 24 Down Podcast. And then we have many shirts out right now on storefrontier.com/24 Down. Get your shirt. There's so many to choose from, and they're pretty inexpensive as well. So those are the plugs. I just want to say before I give you the last word, Darell, thank you so much for easily getting on the podcast. You don't know, half of the people, or almost half the people that we try to get on, it's a struggle. Some people still don't want to get on just for some reason because they're nervous or whatever it is. But, you know, I asked you and you were right away, you said yes, and I love that. And even just to go back to, you know, my first year, you know, you may say you weren't there and stuff most of the time and you were stressed, but I think that really gave us the environment to where we created community, that we weren't having someone, you know, breathing down our neck, even though you wouldn't be doing that. But it just all turned out to be something really good and something that's still going on, you know, over a decade later. So, you know, thanks for being a great RA. Thanks for being busy as well. And I'm glad that you're doing well and that you are, you know, you're married with kids and you're just living the life in West Virginia, man. So
West Virginia.
I thank God for you, man. Yeah. So go ahead. I'll give you the last word.
All right, man. I just want to say thank you again for this opportunity. And like I was saying, stay connected with one another. Just stay connected. There's so much that you guys can help each other and just, I mean, even me in West Virginia right now, there's times where I'm like, dude, I just don't really have any friends or have anyone to hang out with or talk to. I mean, it's great to be able to connect with you and to connect with other people that from back in the day, man. It's awesome. So stay connected, guys. Stay connected.
Awesome. And we have to find Carlos and let Frank know about this. All right. Definitely. So yeah, thanks so much, man. And thanks for being a part of 24 Down.
Thank you, Buddha. I appreciate it, man.